Might as well jump into it. Welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, June 14th, 2014. This is Season 8, Episode 24. I am Scott.
I'm James.
I'm Dennis.
I'm RJ.
And I'm Nathan.
Welcome to the show. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 334-272-9228. That is 334-272-9228. Check out ingamechat.net for all the links. To get in touch with us, you can find us on Twitter at InGameChat, as well as on Facebook. You can email us, everyone, at ingamechat.net. We are streaming the cam feed right now through Twitch. Head over to twitch.tv, look for In-Game Chat, and you can find us there, as well as join in the chat room live while we broadcast. This is going to be pretty much an E3 heavy show. Even if we're not talking about E3, we're probably talking about stuff that was talked about at E3, so be prepared for that. But welcome to the show. I am back from LA. Got back yesterday morning about 10:30. James, thanks for picking me up from the airport. I do appreciate it.
Yep.
And
thanks for falling asleep when I told you not to.
Yeah, really. Last night, yeah. I was my schedule was all screwed up. So
yesterday afternoon.
Yeah. And I stayed awake as long as I could. Then it was I swear to you, I set my alarm for like 1 hour. It was going to take just a 1 hour nap, and then 4.5 hours later is when I wake up. And then it was another 4 or 5 hours before I went back to sleep again. So
Look, man, you're not winning against sleep.
No, my schedule's fixed now. It's just that I had to lose almost a day's worth and some fantastic playing time with Destiny. We're going to jump right into the E3 stuff. Don't really want to do a recap of everything that was done at E3. Most of you know that by now. What was done? The big day was almost a week ago. Monday's press conferences were nearly a week ago, so I'm sure you've been caught up on that. I would like to know, I have to say one thing. A lot of the times at these press conferences, when you guys are watching them from home, and even when we're there, you'll hear the woos and the claps and everything else, and it's like, you know what, you're supposed to be there just covering the thing, don't, quit. You wonder if those are plants or whatever else. Monday night for Sony's press conference, I sat down and put stuff in the chair next to me, and eventually it started filling in, so I took that stuff out and sat it down, so there was an empty seat. And the guy that sits next to me his name is Gerard Williams. He is also known as Hip Hop Gamer. He's a guy that goes to these things and wears his wrestling belts and whatever. I am convinced that 90% of the hooting and hollering that you hear in the audience comes from that man right there. And I have to say this is not, it was a different experience watching Sony sitting next to him than it was at any of the other press conferences. This guy's just excited about games, falls right into the hype of everything, doesn't sit there and question anything. Every time something came up, he was in it. He was into it. He loved it. When they started talking about TV, he was all for it. When they started bringing out some new device, he was fine with it. When they showed the Morpheus, he didn't care. He was all excited for it. It was interesting to see somebody without that restraint of, let me think this over, let me process this. It was just like, nope, no processing whatsoever. I'm just going to jump right into it and enjoy everything. Everything they showed, I almost guarantee you he said 90% of the time, that looks so real. Was just floored by everything. And it was really nice.
Man, I want to be that guy.
I know. It was really nice sitting next to him. He was so excited about everything. And I'm sure this happened at every single press conference he went to, which is fine. I implore anyone who goes to these things, if you ever find a seat next to him, sit down there and just enjoy the show, because it was fun. Sony's was fun for me because I was sitting next to him. It really, really was. Every time something was being teased as an announcement, he'd put his arms out like he was blocking me as a passenger in the seat. Like, oh God, what's this about to be? What's this about to be? And boom, they would do it. If they were showing Bloodborne, when they were showing that, he grabbed my arm, was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. He was just friendly guy, great guy. So yeah, that was my highlight experience of the press conference days. But yeah, so I'm pretty convinced that all that you hear comes from him, and that's fine with me just because he is that excited. I would like to be that guy as well. I was for Sony's press conference. I was that guy, but by the time they got to Batman or so, I was with him and just screaming stuff. So I had fun for that, and I had fun throughout most of the show. I really booked myself horribly with appointments back to back to back to back, which means 20 minutes of whatever, and then 10 minutes of trying to get to your next appointment without being late. And if any of those other appointments were late getting started, I had to leave early in the middle of them to get in. It was horrible booking, and I probably won't ever do it that way again. But again, I still made time to go around, take a ton of pictures. You can see all the pictures I took on our Facebook page. I took a ton of pictures and was able to meet with a few folks. Obviously, I posted this on my personal Facebook page, but I got to meet Lauren Lanning, and that was a big deal for me. Last year, I got to meet Jack Tretton and Peter Moore, but this year I got to meet somebody who actively made a game that I was a huge fan of. So that was really great. I ran into why their name is escaping me right now. I ran into the voices of Lee from Walking Dead and also the voice of Dave Fennoy and Big B Wolf. Kevin Arrington, I believe is his name. I ran into both of them at Telltale's booth when I was playing Walking Dead Pinball, and Dave remembered us, and Big B's voice, which again, Kevin Arrington, was very interested in being on the show. In fact, when I told him, it was one thing to tell him that we're a radio station or that we're a radio show, not a simple podcast, and he was very interested then. He said, how many stations? And I said, we got 8. He's like, oh, you must be those Cumulus guys. I said, no, we're not. He's like, oh, then I'm really interested in talking to you. I hate talking to corporate. So I was like, all right, that's us. So, I enjoyed it. What about for you guys? I'll start over here with RJ. Did you watch Monday's press conferences?
I didn't get to watch. I was working at the time, but
out of everything that you know about, what struck out for you? What stood out for you?
Bloodborne, seeing that in action.
Wouldn't you know it?
Yeah, seeing the Dark Souls elements, of course. So the elements of death and frustration, basically, looked like it was going to be a lot of that. Looking at the trailer I saw. Other titles I was thinking about was the Killer Instinct reveal for Season 2, starting of that, the new elements they're going to put in the fighting system for that game. Saw what they did with TJ Combo. I'm wondering what they're trying to do with him, because he was a boxer in the original Killer Instinct. Now he seems to be an MMA fighter, I guess, changing with the signs of the times now. Other title was Guilty Gear Xrd. Saw that a little bit from Axis. Also went with, trying to think of the last title. I'm drawing a blank here. Mortal Kombat, that's right, sorry. Mortal Kombat X, I saw that. But my fears about it was coming true, because I didn't like in Injustice when NetherRealm Studios added background elements into it, swinging off of bars, throwing things from the background, because a lot of people were spamming that in the game as well. So I wasn't a fan of that. I'm probably in the minority. It would probably overall be well for Mortal Kombat when they put it in there, but those were the 3 titles I was looking at more than anything else.
Cool. Hey, Nathan, I'd love to get your take. Out of Monday's stuff, what stood out for you?
I definitely like the whole Halo thing.
That was like, I knew they were doing a Halo thing.
Yeah.
I just didn't know it was going to be like the playlist thing where you can set up levels from different and just go through them. Yeah. I thought that was fascinating, and everything else that they've got with it is just that'll be something I pick up. Yeah,
and I don't have an Xbox One yet, but that would definitely I would definitely consider that in the future. But yeah, I definitely like that. That was pretty cool. And then I didn't get a chance. I had to work as well, but I was able to watch it at my job. And I didn't get to see EA's, but I did see Ubisoft's and then Sony's later that night. And they all, with the whole whatever thing. I mean, I felt like they all tied each other. You know, I felt
we
like
don't
they all had.
we don't ever pick winners on this thing.
yeah.
Clearly, last year there was a sense of a winner just from what
Yeah.
Sony did with theirs compared to Microsoft. But
Yeah,
we don't
There
ever
was
go
no
through these
sense
things.
of a winner.
Yeah.
There was-
Exactly.
If by sense you mean absolute, irrefutable winmanship,
Right.
is what happened last year. This year they were all crap.
They weren't necessarily crap.
They were
but
crap.
the main issue this year was that everything
You
got
need to
leaked.
hang out with Hip Hop Gamer. That's
No.
obviously what you need
Hip Hop
to do.
Yeah,
Gamer gets
exactly.
to be as positive as he is because he's drawn all of my optimistic chi out of me and left me, sort of a disabused kind of. I don't know. My needle doesn't ever peg on the positive end anymore, and it's obviously because of that dude. That dude's clearly going around vampiring out everybody's positive energy.
Maybe he's just like your antimatter, essentially. If the two of you ever did
Look,
meet,
if
we would
there's
just
yeah,
explode.
there's got to. I'm sorry, but judging by the pointless enthusiasm at these conferences, there have to be more people like me who are just like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not cheering. I'm not that excited. I'm not sitting in an
You're like-
amphitheater being told how awesome everything is.
I didn't cheer it's one time until I sat next to him for that Sony conference.
You're
and
like
it
you're
was-
like the grumpy cat.
I mean, evidently, but whatever. I'm not even supposed to be talking right now. There's a reason Scott didn't start with me.
I will say one thing though. I'm still looking forward to. Oh crap! Just left my mind. The
Boy, he's really
Make
looking forward
something
to
up.
it.
You're hunting the monster.
Evolve?
Evolve.
I played that.
I watched
played that.
and I'm still pretty excited for that game.
I played
it,
that.
It looks pretty good.
And had a lot of. I enjoyed playing it. However, it came to. We've talked about this before on the show. We've talked about this off the show. Is that Evolve is going to be one of those games that you want to play with people you know,
Yeah.
who are going to be coordinated. You don't want to do a pickup group with Evolve. So.
And I could definitely tell it still needed balancing, but I mean,
And the best
it's
part
not
is
coming out
that
anytime soon.
you don't necessarily look. We're a group of 5 people. Evolve needs at least 4 that you know.
You need a team of 4 and then one dude playing the monster.
Yeah, and that guy, the guy playing the monster can be whoever you want. I don't care. That doesn't need to be part of your teammate type thing because obviously they're playing the monster and you have to find and hunt them and kill them, and he's out to kill you. So that's fine. That could be whoever. However, if you have 5 friends that can just do the rotation of like, okay, next person's going to be the monster type stuff, that'd be it'd be a lot of fun. It's one of those things that I need 3 other dedicated, at least.
Now, you're
3
living in
other
a dream
dedicated.
world, man.
I know.
I mean, you really are. There are a lot of games that we don't play together anymore. Us as a group of people, because you have to. Everybody's got to have the game on the same platform. They got to have the time off. They got to be on the same schedule. You got to sit down, and it feels like work. It is in its own way. Like if all the stars align and everybody's just into it, then everything is magnificent. It's beautiful. And when I was younger, and I and everyone around me didn't have anything to do with our lives because we were useless and young, like all young people are, like before your life is filled up with all this other garbage, it was very easy to find time to be around one another, whether it was in the dorm room or after school or something. Everybody's really living a very similar life. The older you get, the more dissimilar your lives become, even though your friendships may be tighter.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find that sort
It
of
is.
thing.
It is.
And
I
there's a
mean,
reason why we don't do that sort of stuff.
Even in this
anymore.
group here, we've got, we've only got 2 of us that have an Xbox One. Wait a second. Nathan, you don't have an Xbox One. 2 of us with
I'll
an
eventually
Xbox.
get one.
Yeah.
But not right
3 with a PS4.
And 3 with a PS4. So, well,
Yeah.
Matt. Forget about Matt. That would be our 4th.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would still be. My hope is that not just that I have to rely on you, but that I have 3 other friends on my friends list that is
That
quite
are
expensive,
online at the time.
that are going to be playing this and that I can join up with and do that with.
But it's going to be the same thing that happens with everything else. You're not going to get in and start playing it until you know somebody else is. And it's not the kind of game somebody's
Right.
going to sit around in waiting for your friends to get off work and eat dinner. And
Yeah, and let's look at its release date, too. It's in October.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? 2014 has got to be one of the most boring years in terms of outlook that we've seen in a very long time. But if there is one bright spot,
It's
it's October.
October. Even without the Batman in there, it's October's still
There's still
full
an
of
awful
stuff
lot of stuff going on.
for October. Dennis, over to you. What did you see?
I saw a couple things I was interested in. Of course, I think probably the one all of us are like interested to see what comes of it is new Crackdown on Xbox One. The announcement of that was like one of the few announcements. Like, okay, you have my attention now. I want to see what you're going to do with that.
Anything but my thing for you, since you're the only one of us that owns a Wii U, how are you with Nintendo stuff?
There was Smash Brothers. I mean, in the new Zelda, I mean, all we got was like a little teaser trailer out of that. So I was like, okay, you're working on new Zelda. I figured you were working on something like that since you're Nintendo and that's one of your properties. But it's like, I need to see a bit more than just like a teaser trailer before I like really get worked up and lather about it. Smash Brothers, it looks like Smash Brothers. I'll take that any day of the week. And aside from that, Nintendo didn't have much. I'm not a Pokemon guy. I can't do that.
Yarn Yoshi wasn't a thing for you?
No, when I played like Super Mario World 2 with Yoshi, and that was the hardest game I've ever played in my life. I'm never interested in playing another Yoshi
What
game.
about the Splatoon, that shooter?
It looks interesting, but I don't know. It's not a thing. I'm not much of a shooter guy. I like some of them, but it's like it looks like an interesting idea, but it's not something that like really calls to me. I kind of want to see, is it going to have what's the multiplayer like? Particularly on the Wii U. What is there going to be?
Have you done any connections with your Wii U, your internet connections as far as like multiplayer yet?
I finally got a game that has multiplayer.
Right, Mario Kart 8.
But I haven't tried it out yet. It's supposed to be able to connect one or two players to like to the internet and like race other people, but haven't tried it out yet. I mean, that's the first thing I got. Okay, Zombie U has some internet connectivity, but not a direct one. Just you would like load up dead people to be zombies in your game and give you supplies, but that's about it. Nintendo's got stuff, but just like nothing that's like really got my attention. The other stuff, I'm interested in seeing what Suda51's latest is. The Let It Die.
Let It Die, yeah.
Looks like it's just what I can inference from the trailer, some kind of multiplayer game of some sort. Gear collection, what have you.
Let me tell you, during Sony's, I kept looking back at the prompter behind me so I could see if they were about to say Sony Japan, roll Last Guardian 2-minute clip or something like that. I kept looking for that to see what was kind of like, oh, is this place about to explode once this rolls through? Obviously, it never showed up, but.
Yeah, Bloodborne I'm interested in just because it'll be yet another From Software game I play for 4 hours and then just stop because it gets too difficult. No Man's Sky. That looks really interesting. The planet exploration game.
Looks too good.
Yeah.
There are things about it that I don't trust, honestly. And not because this isn't even me just being angry about it. I think it's probably the one thing I saw at the show that I was most like I raised one eyebrow a little bit when I saw that.
So you didn't
which
see
expresses
that
magnificent interest.
Yeah, you did not see when we watched the reveal of that live on the show back during the VGX Awards.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing our show, and then that came on. We didn't know what it was, and then it's No Man's Sky. And our first thought was, I think I was sending you texts. I said, look for trailer No Man's Sky, so you can see that.
No, I think it's a big deal. I am very skeptical that such a small group of people could be doing something so ambitious. I trust in the infinite nature of the game. I trust in their ability to create fun, expansive, randomly generated things. But we have played in worlds like this, similar to this. And one of the things that these sort of randomly algorithmically generated worlds can't do is create things with extraordinary character. The landscape in Minecraft, for example, or the cave structures in something like Terraria. All of these are good examples of procedurally generated or randomly generated tile sets or world sets. You can find like neat structures if you just run out over a Minecraft world that you've generated, and it is like apples and oranges to a degree, but There is a difference between a handcrafted world, something like lovingly and artistically carved or painted, something that was made deliberately, and a world that is made randomly. It'll build into certain parameters. It will build into whatever sort of limits and constructs you've set, but it won't have flashes of genius. It likely won't have anything like that. So I already know in advance what things about it I'm not likely to enjoy, what its shortcomings are going to be. It's mathematical, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm just getting that out of my head already. I know going into it, yes, you're going to do things. I'm going to see odd repetition, most likely. I'm going to see things that are interesting, but I think I'm probably going to see the most interesting thing in the game fairly quickly. But that's neither here nor there. Even if what I'm saying is true, and it probably is, the game is still fascinating.
Yeah.
Like, even with what I'm saying, it's still going to be brilliant. I still really expect it to be an incredible, incredible experience for no other reason than nobody else anywhere is doing anything like it. Not quite like it, anyway. Mm-hmm. It is as much its own thing as anything else shown at that conference. It was great. It was really, really good. So I am probably the most optimistic about that.
Well, that would lead me to you for your segment
it was
of
the
this.
Closest thing to a really happy moment for me. It was the thing that seemed less corporate. I already knew it existed, like everything else in the show. There was nothing in the show that was new.
Yeah.
And I mean over the entire course of everything, of the many days that you were out there, of the many hundreds of millions of dollars that were spent putting this thing on. It was like, yeah, all right. Like, I know. Yeah, here's this thing, it was leaked. Here's this thing, it was announced. Here's this thing, where's it been for the last 5 years?
Rainbow Six, that would be your last 5 years. Where's it been for the last 5 years?
Everything existed in our minds in some form or fashion, and not even just in speculation, but we knew about it in some way. So it was just like, all right, I'm going down a checklist. Yes, you said this. Yes, you said this. Mm-hmm. Yes, you said this. But there wasn't anything really new. And I'm not saying that makes the show in any way, but this show was entirely about stuff that's coming next year. This show was a preview of next year's E3. That's a little disappointing.
It is. It was something I thought about on Monday, and I think walking around the show floor as well was, they had the order there, and I got to play a little bit of the order, but playing it was like, well, this is a 2015 release. I saw Witcher 3. This is a 2015 release. Yeah. Batman was a 2015 release. Everything I want is a 2015 release. Everything that I really just don't have any interest in is a 2014 release. The Fable, whatever that Fable Legends, I think.
MOBA, I guess.
Project Spark.
Yeah, thanks for the most ridiculous and unwanted new trend. Hey, new Fable. Okay, yeah, I can do. You know what? I really like. I need another.
Fable is fun.
No, it's fun. I could totally get in with a next gen action RPG thing. I'm gonna get down into a little bit of a fantasy world and kind of get in there and do some quests and story and stuff. Never mind. It's multiplayer. Thanks.
Required multiplayer. It's clearly inspired by MOBAs,
and it's nothing I want to go near. It's not why I have ever loved Fable. When you show me Fable, when you read that title to me, when you tell me that I get to go back there, even though I've had a terrible time with all the other ones, I'm going to keep trying. It's because of what I know you do best. It's because of those stories and those characters, the setting, your quirky narrative, your sort of offbeat pacing. It's like, it's something that's very much its own. Play to that strength, not somebody else's strength. I really hate that. I really hate co-opting this other thing in the hopes you're going to drag me along purely out of name recognition or habit or something. It's no good. I don't like that. I didn't like it at all. Really kind of brought me down, like in the first part of the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Microsoft is to be commended for learning a lesson. They didn't talk about any features. They didn't talk about any garbage. They didn't talk about any kind of associated product or anything like that. They did exactly what Spencer said.
They didn't pull the stuff that we
here's-
kind of thought that they would. Which, I mean, we knew it was going to be the COD thing to kick it off. We knew they were going to have Call of Duty gameplay, and then they were going to announce you can play it first on Xbox One.
Right.
Which, by the way, that theme carried through the entirety of Microsoft's press conference. You can play this DLC first on Xbox One. They didn't necessarily have game exclusives, but they had DLC exclusives at least timed for ever how long it's going to be. They had a lot of that, whereas Sony had their exclusive stuff. But
Sony was like really dancing on a weird line with their language about what was exclusive. Microsoft kept things simple, and they kept them very safe. And overall, I think the entire show was hatefully safe. But I can't be mad at Microsoft for doing that. They screwed up so bad last year that the best thing they could do is keep it simple, get out of the way, don't try to be creative, just show some games, do what you are expected to do. This DLC will be exclusive on Microsoft blah blah blahs for blah 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 such and such time. Thank you very much. Goodbye. See you on the show floor. That's what they did. And
no apps.
good on no. Just
yeah.
not that I don't want to hear about those things. I do want to hear about things that are relevant to me and the console. It's just that TV and business numbers, sales figures, all that stuff is a little bit too far out of that. But they were fine. I can't fault them for any of what they did. I still don't like the look of Sunset Overdrive. I just don't care. Like so many other things in the world that I don't really care about, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to take a look at it. But it doesn't, I don't get like warm, happy feelings when I look at it. I'm just like, no,
It looks like something that's going to be fun for a few days.
there's a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a video game, ain't it? All right. Cool. I'll play your video game, I suppose. Don't think I'll buy it, but into the rental queue it goes.
Yeah, exactly. And Redbox, Jesus, get on it, man. Hurry up. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have more of in-game chat. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, 334-272-9228. Here's music from Metal Slug. We'll be back in just a moment. And welcome back to In-Game Chats. This track is called Tyrion. So, good luck. I'm sure Nathan's going to look that up for us and figure out what that is. I don't know. It's called Tyrion. Anyway, welcome back to the show. It's kind of us going over some E3 stuff, but trying not to just give you a complete rundown of everything that happened. We'd rather just tell you what we liked about it and what we didn't like about it, and some of the things that stuck out to us. I will say that there was a lot of things I wasn't really impressed by. I get the same sense from you about the whole, well, it's all 2015, the stuff that I'm interested in.
I'm not mad about it. I don't expect them to flip a switch and move stuff up. I feel like somehow something happened in development, in the wider community of games development, where people were just not ready to release things on the new consoles yet. For all the time that we spent on the old consoles, whatever happened probably related to people just not having dev kits for a long enough time. And you've just got this year now where it's like, there's some stuff, it's okay. 90% of it is cross-generational.
Right.
Which means it's like, okay, but at this point I don't really trust that a cross-generational title, that its design isn't being influenced or held back by its need to fit on the older consoles. It's one of the reasons that I was so excited, so interested in seeing Batman.
Mm-hmm.
It gets pushed back to 2015. I'm aggravated, and you said there's a good reason, largely because it was meant to tie in with the time of year and the setting,
Yeah.
October and Halloween, but it really would be nice to see something really soon that has simply left the old consoles behind. It's just not really happening right now. 2015, it's okay. And we're not even really talking about a lot of games that are pushed back to the end of 2015. A whole bunch of stuff coming out in February and March. So.
Yeah. Of the games that I got to play, I played Alien Isolation. However, the demo that they had was not story-related. It was a challenge map.
Right.
That they had you go through. They basically... one of their challenge maps is they'll just give you a scenario. You need to lock down this part of the ship. And the person who can do it in the shortest time, that's the leaderboards for it. If you can complete some ancillary objectives while doing that, it helps with your bonus on time and stuff like that. So so I didn't really get to play any of the story, but the challenge mode was that you cannot kill the alien. You have very limited ammo. You can scare it away with your flamethrower. So if he's on you, you just use the flamethrower, he goes away. But somebody is still going to be hunting somebody. You're either hunting it or it's hunting you, that sort of thing, while you're trying to complete objectives. The atmosphere of it was really good. The noises, they did a lot of that Dead Space stuff where you hear things more than you see things. I will say I went back and watched the reveal of that from 4 months ago, and it's not as good looking as that reveal was 4 months ago. There were some elements, like whenever you brought up the motion tracker, the motion tracker would come into focus, the background would blur. And then when you'd go away and come back into focus, gave it a little bit of a realism to it.
Yeah, they said a feature. I read an article where a feature was they wanted that to where if you focus on that, you can't see what's going on, so you had to like switch between background and
that wasn't happening in the challenge map that I played. I specifically remember taking note of that. Still, I think it will. I think it will satisfy. I think it'll be so. Obviously, it'll be so much better than Colonial Marines. But I think it'll satisfy the alien itch I know that Matt has for it. I played The Order. The demo took place during. Remember the gameplay reveal we saw just recently. Guy in the street, you had to cross that street and help the guy that got shot and that sort of thing.
Yes,
that was the demo that I played, and it went a little bit further after that. Section.
Right, where they're talking about somebody look for an exit.
Exactly.
Got to find a way out of here.
Yeah, you find the exit. It's a simple prompt to press a button. And this was the reason that I sent you a text saying, look, this is a rental unless they do something amazing that's going to change that for me, is because it is so, very focused and guided in on making you do...
Yeah. I don't mind that.
I don't mind it either.
I don't mind it being what it wants to be. I really don't. Not to be unfair, certainly not my problem. I love Telltale stuff. Love it to death, but there are tons of people who can't stand how narrow and guided that is.
Right.
And I'm not even arguing. Yeah, it is. Your choices have no effect on the outcome whatsoever.
I have no problem with that.
They just tailor. It's just about what happens to you. So I am okay with that. I don't need it to be a different thing, and I'm not angry in this particular instance that it isn't a different thing. My issue with very many things right now isn't what they are. It's what I'm told they are, that they don't end up being. That really, really aggravates me. So if someone were just completely straightforward, 100% transparent and honest about what their game is going to be, answer the questions, don't obfuscate, and just show me a piece of honest gameplay. Really, really honest gameplay. And if you can't show me honest gameplay, show me nothing. Or show me a CG scene. I don't mind that either. I've kind of gotten over that because I'd rather have a CG scene than a lie. But that snippet of gameplay they showed from The Order at E3, the stuff that we saw, was bad. It was objectively bad. I liked the idea, even though it was a single narrow environment. I didn't mind that, but it looked like the kind of thing that didn't even need me. Right? It was the transformation of that one ghoul or zombie or body or whatever it was into the thing that might be a werewolf. And it I'm gonna get you, and it chased the guy. And the guy just he shot at it with his gun.
Yeah, apparently
and it had literally no effect.
Right.
It didn't slow him down. It didn't stagger him. It didn't hurt him. That we could tell. It just thing comes at you. You shoot at thing. Thing still comes at you. hooray game.
doesn't even
right.
flinch
Like
at all.
it didn't look. Maybe that's what I get for asking for a slice of honest gameplay.
Well,
Well, I get a slice of honest gameplay, and I'm like, oh, this did not show well.
Yeah,
let me be fair.
What my biggest complaints are games that have like, oh no, you're supposed to lose at this part because that's what the story requires is for you to lose. So I'll spend an hour trying to take down a boss or whatever, and I'll restart. As soon as I die, I'll restart or whatever because I want to. It's like you mentioned a game, X-Men.
Yeah, X-Men on the Genesis.
Yeah.
Where something was supposed to happen.
I think Mojo's World, where you post the instructions told you to basically, you have to reset you have to hit a switch and then reset the computer. When they said reset the computer, they meant for you to get up and
Reset your
Genesis.
Yeah.
And that caused a lot of
Okay, well,
hatred.
that's not necessarily what I'm saying, but there are boss battles where no matter what you do, the outcome is supposed to be that you either die or you
Yeah,
we could
run
take
that a
the-
lot in RPGs.
We could take the tutorial in Demon Souls, or Dark Souls, where you face above the tutorial says do this to parry, do this to swing your sword, get to a boss, it kills you, and then it tells you what you're supposed to do when you're dead.
Well, I think in like Demon and Dark Souls in particular, if you did like beat that like near impossible boss, you got
Yeah,
like
you
an
got
extra
you
item.
got a really nice weapon.
See, it was possible after you play through the game,
Yeah.
but yeah, in particular when you're like using up all your items, like I gotta beat this guy, gotta beat this guy. Oh, like, goes to cutscene instead of going to my game over screen. What's going on here?
Yeah. So, but
great,
that-
I just use all my valuable items,
and that's what James was getting at during that reveal was that this seems so guided. This seems like does it need me? Press button to do this, and not necessarily being a QTE, but it was.
Yeah, and it does have QTEs. I just thought it was. I don't know. It was just an interesting choice. Is all. Particularly for a game that they had already said is like 2015.
Let me tell you,
Maybe
Hip Hop
that-
Gamer was going nuts for that
Yeah.
scene. He was loving that.
I thought that it. I'm going to use a bad phrase. I thought it looked good. Right, and I do mean graphically, visually. I thought that it looked good. I thought that a lot of the subtle touches, the lighting and shading, and the particle effects and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, this seems really, really nice. It seems nice and smooth. The frame rate is really, really excellent. I think when this game comes out, though I have not really liked anything they've shown, I will play it and probably enjoy myself. 4, 6, 7 hours or whatever is on offer. I think it's going to be a fun, specific, and unique experience. I think they are allowing the community to oversell it to itself. That's a terrible phrase, but I think you know what I mean. By not being more honest about what it is, they are allowing weird expectations to.
Well,
run
what they're
all over the
doing
place.
is they're letting the fans basically create their own opinion and guide them to
Yeah.
where they're not wanting to necessarily go. I mean,
Yeah,
and
and
the thing is they're not defending it or saying anything, so it's just letting people carry
Yeah.
on with it even farther, and it's and that was an issue that we've somewhat had with Destiny, that they won't.
No,
they
that's
won't say
that's
anything.
that's a very
They're just
very good point. It's just like
letting fans guide it.
could you talk about this? And they're like, it's awesome,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, could you talk a little more about this? Could you maybe say like old boy with No Man's Sky, right? That dude was obviously on cloud 9
Well,
based
those
on
are-
the reaction
Yeah.
to his game when he came out on the stage.
Those guys, the Hello Games guys, their previous game, or games, I guess, would be the Joe Danger series, which is a far stretch from what they're trying to show with No Man's Sky. Plus, I believe it was just recently that their studios got flooded and they lost
Yes.
a bunch of their stuff and had to kind of start back over. So his reaction to the audience reaction, I think, was one of, relief and humbleness. I think for somebody so. It's like anytime somebody says something great on ours without prompting them
Yeah.
about our show, but without prompting them to do so or
Yeah, it
without
makes you-
anything.
it's-
it's
it
one of
is.
those, wow. Yeah.
humility and graciousness and all of this other
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But most importantly was in the day or so following the discussion on stage or the exposure to it on stage, people were incredibly excited about it. And he was like, look, I really appreciate this, but it's a hard thing we're doing. We're a really small team. I don't want expectations to become galactic.
Right.
Let's hold off on the game of all time discussion or even game of the show stuff. I just want to build a great game. And I was like, this is what happens when you have, what do they have, like a dozen guys, 2 dozen guys, something
Maybe
like that?
something like that, yeah.
Instead of 9,000. This is what happens when one of the guys who's actually working, one of the people who is personally responsible for doing this and who wears the weight of his own game on his shoulders, starts talking to people, like they're actual people. This is a dialogue between humans without any sort of marketing bot sitting in the middle of it, without an entire phalanx of meetings.
So 6 people in the studio.
6? Yeah.
Yeah, see?
Wow.
This is one of the reasons I know why we like the smaller studios, because they have a tendency to talk to people like people talk to one another. So I think that's what that was, and I think more of that is really, really good. Just, hey, don't run away with yourself. Like, don't go nuts, you know? Let me just tell you a little bit about my game, but let me just tell you that it is, like a game. It's not from the future.
There's
no magic.
One of my favorite things that I got to play, actually was a few of them, actually took place across the street, was not in the Los Angeles Convention Center. Devolver Digital did not have floor space there. All their stuff were in Airstream trailers across the street. And these were the games like Hotline Miami 2. You kind of know what you're getting there because it's Hotline Miami, and they were only showing off the level editor that you could do for people. So that was one thing. But there were 3 other games over there that I did not know anything about that I had appointments with. I didn't know anything about them until Sony highlighted them during their press conference on Monday and started naming those things off. And I said, oh, that's what I get to see. Not a Hero is one of them. Fun game. It's a 8-bit cover mechanic side-scroller type thing. You go into a building, you do a big shootout on multiple levels of the building, and then you escape. And there's a bunch of different ways that you can go about this, and a bunch of different scenarios that you have to do. Sometimes it's not just shoot everybody in the building. Sometimes it's plant a device. Sometimes it's retrieve a device. So that looked very fun to me. Another one was Titan Souls. Titan Souls is another 8-bit top-down game where you play as a guy who has 1 HP and 1 arrow. However, the bosses all have 1 HP as well. They have a weak spot. It's basically you against this thing that is way overpowered, more overpowered than you, but they all have 1 weak spot. And they plop you down in the world without telling you any of this. They don't tell you anything. You just go and you have to find it out. You have to find all this stuff out on your own. They don't tell you what their weak spots are or anything like that. There's no hint to that. You just have to find that out on your own. And that was a lot of fun.
What was it called again?
Titan Souls.
I can't figure out if that's the best name right now or like the worst name to have right now. I really can't figure out which one of those it is.
Right.
If it's like is it like in earnest, or is it like a joke?
I didn't ask him about that, but it's a good question. I did. They were really impressed with me, and they could have just been saying that to heighten up my whatever, to blow up my ego. But I went to the first room to find the first Titan, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you figured it out. You figured it out pretty quick what you had to do on that one." Basically, I'll give you a scenario. You do have 1 arrow to shoot. But the arrow never goes away. So you shoot it, and then it lands wherever it lands. If it hits the character, it just lands where it hits the character, and then you have to retrieve it. You can summon it, but you lose your ability to move when you summon. You have to hold the button down till the arrow gets back to you, or you can just walk over it and pick it back up and use it again.
On their website, it says that they're basically inspired by Dark Souls and Shadow of the Colossus to have the idea.
Yeah.
Fine inspiration.
So.
Yeah, good inspiration there.
Yeah, it's
So
Titan Souls.
the first one I went into, by the way, he said all 5 of the first ones that you see, that's the tutorial level. The first one I go into is a heart surrounded by this green blob, and it would just bounce around. And anytime it touched you, you die. You shoot the heart, and the blob splits. There's one without the heart that's still jumping around. The smaller these things are, the faster they're able to move. Mm-hmm. So I had to focus on the blob that was around the heart. Every time I would hit it, a part of it would jump off. And, of course, that part was smaller each time until there was no blob around that heart, and the heart was vulnerable after that. That's kind of the gist of what we're getting at here with what this game is. Everything has a weak spot. You just have to figure out what that is. and you're going to be dying a lot. So, indie developers again.
Yeah.
Then there was the guys from Crow Team who did Serious Sam. They're doing a game called The Talos Principle. They have hooked up with the writer and developer of FTL and The Swapper, which are the same guy, which I was surprised. I didn't know that was the same guy who did that. I was just, as soon as he said The Swapper, I was all over him. Like, I like you. Your game was great. And it was even better because what the Talos Principle is, nothing but environmental puzzles. That is my bread and butter, man. That's my thing. I love those. You know, you only have a few ways in which you can manipulate the lasers that are in there in order to guide them to a specific point to unlock a room to get a piece of, a greater puzzle type situation. Every now and again, you'd be hit by this voice that would start asking you all this philosophical stuff. That's what the writer and developer for FTL and for the Swapper, he studied philosophy and he puts a lot of that into his game stuff. But that one was great, and it was. I was just so pleased to see something like that. I was like, I know you guys are you guys probably take a lot of crap from people who just want more Serious Sam, but I'm glad you're doing this. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that you're making this, and this is something that I like and that I'm going to enjoy really playing. Please stay in touch so that we can talk more about this. So those were really the highlights. Was like the indie stuff were big highlights for me. Again, the order didn't impress me. I played Evolve, but I told you what I thought about that. Yeah. But the indie stuff really stood out. I played Dying Light as well.
How was that?
I feel like it'll get better if I can play it longer. I have to get used to the controls, man. The controls for a first-person parkour-type game, I really have to get used to the controls that they're asking me to do. It didn't go very smoothly, but I felt like if I had more time with it, it would. I had about 15 minutes on one level and 15 minutes on another level to play. The first 15 minutes that I played, I was very weak and couldn't do a lot of stuff. But apparently the second half that I played, I had already been leveled up to a certain amount, and I was doing a lot better on the second half of being able to jump around, move around. My weapons were a whole lot better with what I had. And so I'm looking forward to more of that. I'm not completely sold on it just yet, but I'm looking forward to more of it. I like the inspiration of Dead Island, Mirror's Edge.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, I've been looking at that one for a while. It looks very interesting. I do want to play that one when it comes out, but again, 2015.
2015 for you, yeah. They showed another one when I was there for Techland. It's called Hellraid. Has anybody heard of this?
I've heard of that. I haven't. I've read a little bit about it, but not like a lot. I see it mentioned a lot. It's like, yeah, this game looks really good.
Yeah, it was the first. It's the first I ever had heard about it, and it takes place. The demo they showed us took place inside a castle. You were able to dual-wield weapons, or you could use one of those for a shield. Very Dark Souls, Demon Souls like. Unless you needed one weapon that used both hands. If it was a strong weapon that required both hands being used, then you could use that, but it would do a lot more damage. However, the wind-up time for it was a lot longer, and you were without a shield while you did it. So, and it had you were fighting skeletons, and all sorts of different hell beasts and that sort of thing. So, I didn't know that we were going to be seeing that when I went into this. I thought I was just looking at Dying Light, so I actually wasn't prepared for that one. And I saw The Witcher 3. More of The Witcher 3.
Yeah, because we saw the chasing down the griffin.
Right. The demo that I saw took place right after, and they highlighted a lot of things that they showed at the press conference. Was the whatever that ability is where you can see the blood tracks in the ground and that sort of thing, the Witcher sense, I don't know what it's called, Eagle Vision.
Yeah.
They highlighted what happened afterwards. He went into a town and was able to retrieve his reward for killing the Griffin Head, and then he had another quest that he went on. And it was a lot of what Witcher has been so far, which is you need information from one person, but before you can get that information, you have to do something for them. It's a lot of scratch your back, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. But you always have to do your part first. It's never the other way around. It's never like, go ahead and give me the information first, and then I'll do that. That'd be something interesting, like a
morality system.
A morality type system.
That could account for whether or not you ignored a promise.
Yeah, and then as word gets out, you get less and less information from people. They're not going to give you as much or any at all. That would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
But it's always the same way. You got to go do this before you get anything out of this person. There was nothing wrong with what I saw with The Witcher. It just felt like we're doing this over and over again. I don't have a real sense of the entire story of what it's going to be, but apparently some lady is back and she's being chased by the Wild Hunt. And that's about all I know so far. And the demo that we saw at the behind closed door session had nothing to do with that story, as far as I know. It was just picking up some random side quest, and he was showing off the world and showing off how this world is huge. By the way, they didn't give me a sense of like here as it relates to anything else, but it's big.
How's it compared to Witcher 1 and 2? Because I know you've...
Oh, it's much bigger than Witcher 1 and 2 combined. It's huge. It is seriously gigantic. They've got a fast travel system in place, but it's massive, and part of me thinks it may be too big.
Something you're going to have to put a lot of time in, I think.
I suppose, unless it is something where there's a lot of just dead space. In other words, in between places that you go, there's just really nothing there in between.
It said it's 30 times the size of Witcher 2, and it's 20% bigger than Skyrim.
It's big.
Yeah.
That's a nice chunk of land.
Does Witcher involve a lot of exploration and searching, things like that?
Does now.
Yeah, it's big. So
it mostly, at least in the first one, it's not Skyrim-esque at all. It's not that type of exploration. It's generally about finding people who need things done, so that you can get the thing that you need from them, so that you can go to the place and unlock the door and, meet the girl at midnight in the mill tower and, do whatever. And then something, and then move along and wait, what are we doing in this world anyway? Again, kind of stuff. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of interaction, there's a lot going on, there's a lot to find, but it is not exploration in the wide open, expansive world sense. Again, until now, apparently. Which is fine. I'm okay with both.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take our second break here and come back with the second hour of in-game chat. Like I said, if you'd like to get in touch with us, 334-272-9228. We're going to hit up Destiny for this next segment here.
Is that what we're going to do?
Talk about the Destiny Alpha.
All
yeah,
right, sure.
So that's coming up next on in-game chat. Here is, oddly enough, here's music from Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings. And welcome back to In-Game Chats for the second hour of the show. That is music from Scott Pilgrim. If you'd like to get in touch with us, 334-272-9228 is the number. Maybe we're not done with E3. Was going to talk about Destiny, the alpha.
Yeah, I don't want to run. If we get started on Destiny, it'd be very easy to just spend
the rest of the
way
hour.
too much time on Destiny. And there were... One of the things that occurred to me when you guys were talking at the end of the last segment is I actually felt like we saw a number of things demoed this time with what I thought was believable gameplay, right? We had seen stuff from The Witcher before, and you had seen things behind closed doors that you say are similar to what you've seen now. But that clip that we got of Witcher 3, I was like, all right, this this looks like gameplay.
You finally got gameplay. Yeah. Exactly.
This looks like legitimate gameplay. It doesn't look like it's been too heavily doctored. It looks like it's probably actually running on a computer that will play the game. It looks authentic. It looks believable to me. And a lot of times things simply look too good. They're running too well. They're too smooth. They're too polished. The controls are floaty and disconnected in a way to make you feel like you're looking through a cinematic camera. And that actually, the presentation has a lot to do with it. How the people move, how the camera moves, whether it's disconnected or it's not moving in a natural player way. A lot of the gameplay stuff that we saw, I really think was honestly people playing the games. And it was for a number of things this time.
There's a friend of ours that shares that same sentiment. Actually, I called you when I was talking to him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because we specifically brought up Batman, and he said that game looked too good.
It did. It was. Now,
it was that reason for the whole way that
everything was too smooth. Everything was too perfectly connected. Everything was too good, and it didn't look like what happens when a person is at the controls.
Yeah,
it looks like what happens when. I mean, yes, somebody was controlling it, but it looked incredibly staged.
Yeah,
incredibly staged, and none of them weren't. I know that, but. A lot of, I think, what we saw really was like fairly good gameplay. And I thought, for whatever reason, The Witcher really struck me as like, okay, this is, yeah, I think I could do this when I played it. I think it would look like this. Strangely, The Division looked that way to me.
Right. That's
that little segment of that group of people. It still had a lot of that rehearsed, scripted team chatter.
Yeah.
But
like Rainbow Six Siege had the same thing.
Right, but the it did at the presentation. There is actually video of people playing it.
Siege or Division?
Siege.
Yes, I saw the off-camera stuff.
Right, that was really, really good because it backed up everything we saw at the. It looked exactly like it did at the presentation. Only real people playing. At the very end of that match, as a matter of fact, the last police officer, the last member of the Rainbow Six team, whatever he is, counter-terrorist. He lost because he flashbanged himself. He was like in a bit of a panic. He was trying to toss flashbang through a door. It bounced back. He flashbanged himself. He was like freaking out, and the guy shot him. I was like, "This is great. You screwed up." No. This is
good. That's good. Yes,
because you look like someone playing a video game.
I know,
and it looked like fun, and everybody like had a laugh about it, and it was like this great little intense moment without any rehearsing. With just like, let's just play and see what happens.
Yeah, was it the Little Big Planet 3 had that as well? They
did,
were, like,
and you know what?
I messed up. Let me go back and do it again.
They caught a lot of crap in that conference for talking about too many things and changing the pace and like maybe, you know, if we're going to pretend that the conference is a movie or a stage production or something, then fine. I guess judge it on its pacing. I feel like maybe paying a little more attention to the content and the balance of that content is better, but whatever. I thought the Little Big Planet thing was really good. It was kind of awkward and cringy for a second, but then you realize, no, they're
actually
playing the game.
Yeah.
They screwed up and it didn't work perfectly, and everything that's happening right there, if it was happening with you and your three friends, nobody would be cringy. Nobody would feel like it was weird. It was like, you know, stop being stupid. Stop dying at the thing. Hop up here. No, just get up here. Hop up here. Okay, good. Let's go. And nobody would be upset. That's what gameplay looks like. And we have been made so uncomfortable by the sight of actual gameplay that we act weird when somebody does it. It's totally strange. Other things, like I agree, Batman made me lean forward in my seat.
Yeah.
Because I was like, whoa, that looks really good. Look at that city. And when he jumped off the thing and he dived down and then kept going down because it's so high. Man, this is cool. And like there was none of that garbage limitation to his glide ability. He was like, nope, just flying all over the place on a single glide, just whipping in and out of the city struck. Oh, I was like, oh, it looks really good. Like really good.
I'm enjoying the
I don't like the gun on his tank.
Right.
Hey, it's Batman. Wouldn't you know there's a whole bunch of robot tanks? So feel free to blow them up because they're not people.
Why would you put a gun on your tank? Why would you? Nah, whatever.
Yeah, forget about it. Doesn't matter.
I know.
It was kind of a lie anyway. But I was really happy with the Division, and I know that it, like whatever. But it looked like, for some reason, seeing that as a primarily multiplayer style thing with like little group things dealing with, computer controlled enemies, it fills that nice little Mass Effect 3 multiplayer spot that I just loved dearly. And it's the kind of thing that I won't give a second thought to doing in matchmaking. You know what I mean?
Rainbow Six Siege, watching the off-camera stuff, because they didn't show at the UB press conference, they did not show the setup, the lead-in.
Right.
Where, you've got 25 seconds for, if you're the terrorist, to barricade and set your traps and get everything set. And if you're, SWAT, you've got 25 seconds to get a lay of the land and figure out where they're doing all this stuff so you can know how to breach and enter. The feel I got from that was, this is multiplayer SWAT. The outside of the house, this is multiplayer SWAT. You get to be either the guy that SWAT's going after, you get to play
you
SWAT.
mean competitive SWAT?
Yeah.
I mean, SWAT was already multiplayer.
Was it?
Well, when we played SWAT
that's
4.
right, co-op. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
It is still multiplayer. You got to make the distinction.
But competitive multiplayer, SWAT 4, yeah.
No, it looked good. I still think a group of random people versus a group of friends who know what they're doing is going to be no contest. It's going to be until slaughter. But definitely, okay, this is a thing. This is great. I kind of like what you're doing. You haven't, like I said earlier, you haven't torn the namesake of or the name of something away from it and turned it into something it never has been. Yeah. With The Division, it's an entirely new thing. It can be whatever it wants to be. And in general, with what little I've seen, I kind of liked it.
Which apparently it's now tradition not only for UB to show something at the end of their press conference. Well, I take that back. Watch Dogs was not a Tom Clancy title. I was going to say that they've done this 3 years in a row.
Oh, sure,
Tom Clancy, but no, they haven't. But yeah, every 3 years in a row now they've shown their little here's something else thing, which I've always loved about any of the press conferences or even the Apple conferences. As long as you can just give me that, here's one more thing, and hopefully it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
I think Rainbow Six Siege was. I think Uncharted 4 was. I agreed with this friend of ours, was basically Sony saying, look, we know you've heard a lot of stuff about this company.
Right.
They're still doing things, and here's a little bit of proof of that they're still doing this. And that whole thing was mocapped. I talked to one of the guys who works on the mocap for that stuff, and that whole trailer of Nate's face in the ground and everything else, all mocapped, and they've really stepped up. They can actually get some facial animations from mocaps now. Rather than just body movements, they can actually.
Well, they did, and I mean that's how they did.
L.A. Noire.
L.A. Noire had very specific tech for that, but as far as doing the mocap style work and getting facial animations, that's how they did.
Beyond Two Souls.
Beyond Two Souls.
Yeah.
An incredible amount of that stuff in it. So it's fine. I'm all aboard for it. I never doubted that it would be something worthwhile, and. Obviously, yes. Uncharted 4, yes, I know. I'm going to, we don't need to have this conversation. It's a done deal. I'm on board at least to try it out. So, whatever. I did feel like for what it's worth, it was just a weird split. Some stuff I thought they were fairly straightforward with. Like, this is a guy playing a video game. All right, that's what I am.
Yeah.
So that's what I showed up for. Some of it was like kind of in that middle realm where it's like, I absolutely believe this is the game. I don't believe it will ever happen like this for me. And in that place, I put Batman and Far Cry.
When you have that like curated marketing
that perfect sequence of events for Far Cry 4, I don't think is.
I've never
how it's
had
going to happen for me. But having said that.
Yeah. Far Cry 4 had some things going for it.
Man, that was kind of fun. The whole
you got some co-op Just Cause 2 in my Far Cry 4.
You got a little bit of this. You mixing dishes here.
But the ability that you'll have on PlayStation to be able to co-op without having the game.
Yeah, that's right. You basically there was a little information about that actually after the show. It's essentially an app.
Wow.
You download an app. And it is Far Cry 4 with the single-player portions extracted. So it's still an enormous download. Mm-hmm. But any of those interiors, any of those locked-off single-player segments are not included because you can't co-op during those areas. But anywhere else, anywhere in just the wide-open world doing what it is you want to do, You launch the app, somebody sends you an invite, and then you go.
Is it just the helicopter dude, or is
It's just Herc. Yeah.
Okay.
But whatever. That's still. This is different. This
Yeah.
is cute. I like this, and I can get on board with it.
Sony.
But I'm gonna play them. They're a good time.
Now, was this? And again, you have to excuse me for being stuck out there in the middle of all the noise and not able to be outside of it to pick and choose what I want to. But did they say anything about that feature also being available for Xbox One?
Oh, they very specifically
They
said it was only for
PlayStation
Sony.
4.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, Sony got that as an exclusive. Sony got some exclusive collector's edition with Disney Infinity 2.0.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which for the people that play that, that's a big deal, I'm sure. For the Marvel collection stuff as well. Honestly, I don't care anything about Disney Infinity, but the Marvel figures I got to look at, and I was like, man, I really want a Venom and a Spider-Man sitting up on my desk. That's it. That's all I would ever do it for. It's just same I would do with the, what is it, Amiibos?
Yeah, the thing that Nintendo put out.
For Nintendo?
I didn't look too closely at it. It's not a thing that really has me interested.
I don't have a Wii U, so I don't care. I like the little figurines. That's it.
Okay, it's like a thing that you can bring in Smash Bros. I guess the new Mario Party game as well.
And Mario Kart 8, they're bringing it to as well.
Oh, they are bringing Mario Kart 8?
Yes, they're bringing it to Mario Kart 8.
You can tell my interest in it because I had no idea.
And that's perfectly all right. But anyway, Sony's got an exclusive for that. Sony has got an exclusive for the Far Cry 4 situation. Sony has, obviously, all their other exclusives. I don't think... was Bloodborne exclusive?
Yeah, Bloodborne is exclusive.
Okay. I didn't know. I thought, what was that, Project Beast? I thought I remember hearing something about that being on Xbox One or something. So, back when it was
No,
Project
it's from
Beast.
Software and Sony's Japan studio.
Oh, Sony Japan. I thought it was just from that. Well, then there you go. More exclusives. But they're getting exclusives from their third-party guys, like Disney and like Ubisoft. They always get Ubisoft stuff because you always get, here's an extra 60 minutes of play with Assassin's Creed. I think they're doing the same thing with Warner Brothers from probably Mortal Kombat and probably Batman. Batman will get here's some challenge maps. Mortal Kombat will probably get a character of some kind that is exclusive to Sony, Kratos or some stuff like that. Who knows? A Sony character. And then, of course, they got all those exclusives with Destiny. The alpha, the beta, and the release of the game gets its own console bundle for the white PS4.
White PS4.
So
$450, I believe, is the price.
Sony had a lot of exclusives in that vein, rather than DLC exclusives that Microsoft was showing off.
Yeah.
Timed DLC exclusives as well. So, although interesting enough that you could play the beta first on PS4, because that beta is coming to Xbox One, just not.
The beta is coming to Xbox One, but it's coming, I think, a week or 10 days earlier, something like that, to the PS4.
Oh, sorry there, Nathan. Go
It's
ahead.
4 days.
Oh, it's only 4 days? Doesn't matter. It really, really actually does not matter. The beta
Is now.
exclusivity doesn't matter. It's this alpha business that is actually probably selling games at the moment. We can get to that obviously in a second, but whatever. I'm of the opinion that Sony has,
And this,
I kind of objectively, intellectually hate exclusives that aren't homegrown, nurtured first-party studios, right? Those things to me are fundamentally different. It's a company that has made sure that individual developers and individual studios have the support and the access, the time, the budget, and the resources to do whatever they want. It's not just simply a cash deal for cooperation. And I don't exactly like that kind of thing. I actually don't really like it at all. Whereas I really do like first-party exclusivity because it has a tendency to produce some of the very best things available. Again, because these studios are able to soak in one platform, in one development environment, and really work inside of a singular philosophy. And they have direct access to the engineers and developers that have worked on the metal itself. You know, there is a reason. It's not simply coincidence or something obscure that makes them tend to be so good. So that kind of exclusivity I like. Sony has realized, though, that that's not where the battlefield is anymore. And they're kind of playing a similar game to what Microsoft played in the past.
Well, speaking of Battlefield, I like, regardless of if I was interested in the game or not, I like things being announced and being available to play almost immediately after they're announced. Now, I understand that we knew Hardline was coming. We knew that had been it had been leaked and then it had just been revealed, probably because of the leak or whatever. But the fact that they come out and say, yeah, we are doing this, and by the way, you can go play it now in the beta and get in right now.
Yeah, that's fun. I really, really like that. It rewards me for, whatever. I'm playing the home version of your game. I'm playing E3 from home, and it rewards me for actually being interested enough to set aside
we talked
the time
about this,
and
man.
attention.
I'm walking the floor there and I'm seeing all these games and I'm like, part of me's thinking, why can't you just put this out there? Why can't you put these little, look, that order demo was quick. That demo was fast. It didn't, mainly because you don't control most of it.
Yeah.
But it was very fast. I don't understand why that can't just be put out right now. Here, go download it or play it. If you're a PS Plus member, you get to play it right now. These kind of things. If you're a gold member on Xbox Live, here's a bunch of stuff from E3 that you can go play. Put out Sunset Overdrive's multiplayer. Make that a beta. Put that out a demo. Put it right now. That's what you were focusing on at your booth. Make it happen. Splatoon had the same thing. They were Splatoon's a multiplayer-only title anyway, but put this stuff. It's all there. It's all these slices. There are some games who are like fully playable on the show floor because they're coming out. They've either already released or they're coming out soon. Walking Dead Pinball was one of those. Was that, the whole game's right there. Or you could limit it to just as soon as you reach 100,000 points or whatever, game goes to the, hey, we're coming out later this month. Here you go. I wish they would do that. I really wish they would earn so much goodwill out of the folks who can't make it to E3. We always talk about E3 being like, man, it's not needed anymore. Part of me thinks that if they did this, you're right, it probably wouldn't be needed if they just put this stuff out there for everybody to play. It would make talking about this stuff a lot easier because then you'd have the same sense of what I played and what everybody else played. So, speaking of Walking Dead Pinball, I did get high score on that table.
You kept the high score throughout E3?
Well, I got it on the last day of E3. On the last day of E3, during the last hour of E3, that's when I hit 50 million on there. The same time I saw Dave and the Bigby Wolf's voice actor as well.
Yeah, and just to be specific, this is for the pinball is for Walking Dead, the Telltale game.
Yes, yeah, it is based on that. Although the Zen Pinball rep there, Bobby told me about other tables that they have coming that I can't.
You can't say anything.
I want to try. Let me see if I can try it. Well, first off, one should be obvious. They have a deal with certain companies. One should be very obvious because it's coming up soon. So I'll just leave it at that. They have a deal with certain companies. They have a deal. They have a license with Lucasfilm, and they have a license with Marvel. Out of stuff that's coming up very soon, one should be obvious. The other one is a character table. And it's a character that I think a lot of people enjoy. And I'm trying to give hints. The voice actor for this character is very recognizable. So I'll leave it at that.
I don't want to guess because I don't want like Zen Studios calling up saying Scott.
No, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. They're going to announce this table I think next week because it's due in July. The table release is due in July. Walking Dead will be in August, and then that other table I said that was based on a property that will also be released in August.
The phones are lighting up.
Yeah, I'm sure, aren't they? Yeah. I try to tempt that stuff, and the phones still don't ring. So yeah, just there you go about what they're doing. They've got a lot of stuff, and they also, by the way, they also use this time at E3 to hit up other game companies and say, "Look, you guys like pinball? Could we do something with your table?" They talk to the BioWare folks. If we get a Mass Effect table, it's going to be awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of that goes on at E3 as well.
That seems like that would be the best thing to come out of E3 is like getting those connections between the companies.
You get that between companies, then you also get the exclusives that get set up. People go into the back rooms and say, "Look, we want to bring this to our console, or we want to do this collaboration with you for this release of the game," something like that. So a lot of those happen at E3, but I don't know when you ever hear about those. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the deal between Bungie. It's odd to say it's got to be Bungie / Activision. I guess Activision makes that deal with Sony to release the game as a Since they're the publisher, I would think so.
I don't know. I don't think there is one way that happens.
Yeah.
I think it has everything to do with the way the relationship is built between the developer and the publisher.
Yeah.
I think it's worth pointing out that Activision has, I'm assuming it's all coming from Activision. I know that it's not all being spent on this game, but $500 million is the budget for that project.
Wow.
That's twice as much money, I think, as the most expensive movie ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's not all going directly into this one version of the game.
Right.
But I would imagine that having spent that kind of money and invested at that sort of level, Activision's like, I think if we want to release this on clock radios, if we feel like it, then we're going to do it.
Yeah, that's a lot. I did not know that. Anyway, we're going to take a break and not make a fraction of that kind of money. And we'll be right back with more of In-Game Chat for our final segment. Again, you want to get in, 334-272-9228. Destiny Alpha is what we'll hit on our closing segment here. We'll talk about that. And that's coming up next. Here's music from Journey. We'll be right back. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Music there from N+. MetaNet was at Sony's booth, showing off N++. And right next to them was where Lauren was sitting by Oddworld New and Tasty like the entire time. Like he didn't have... It was weird, because obviously, you know, I think of that guy as like, oh man, this is Lauren Lanning. He did the Oddworld stuff. And yet here he is in a booth with Secret Ponchos people. What's that game that you play all the time, Dennis?
Oh, Binding of Isaac?
Yes.
Yeah, and Nicalis was there. I know they were in
Yeah. They were all in this little place where all their games were, but it was completely open. You didn't have to stand in line to see them, and he was standing there the entire time.
Nice.
With his game. So that was nice to see. And Xbox booth had this huge section of nothing but indie titles. It's where I saw Valiant Hearts being played.
Yeah, the UBR title.
Man, you put a dog in anything, and it's just...
Yeah, it's like,
Lord.
you guys are going to kill that dog. Don't try to fool me.
I don't necessarily know that they're doing that. It's all the... It's
they
reverse on that. They're killing
Yeah.
all the dog's friends. That works on the same level for me. Because lonely dog. And White Knight was another one. This was shown off at Microsoft's press conference. It's a black and white noir survival horror type thing. Okay,
I was thinking something different.
Really cool concept, and a bunch of other indie stuff over at Xbox's booth, along with, of course, Forza Horizon 2 and Sunset Overdrive taking up a massive amount of space and promotion throughout a whole car on one stage, and then all that stuff from Sunset Overdrive on another. So, Sony did not have out for play. Well, yeah, they did. They had Destiny out for play for anybody that was there to play it. Although obviously they had revealed that you could play the alpha.
Yeah, the alpha will be on this Thursday.
Was that Thursday going into it to go to sign up for it, and the beta releasing on the middle of July, the 17th of July. And the game releasing in September.
September 9th, I believe.
The interesting thing that I thought about this was that when Bungie did the beta for Halo 3, it was in copies of Crackdown. Mm-hmm. They started the beta in May. The game didn't release until September. They're starting their beta for this in July, and the game releases in September. And we've often talked about this alpha not really being an alpha, and more than likely this beta not really being a beta.
There's nothing remotely alpha about what they've released. I mean, there's like maybe some sort of broism, like some sort of play on words, like it's so alpha because it's so amazing, but like or some whatever, like if I could use bad words, it would come across a little bit better. But it was a nearly perfect example of we're doing this, and you can basically do it now. Could just go ahead and sign up a couple days from now.
Yeah. I love stuff like that. Even if I'm not care about the game. Like, I didn't care about Dead Rising 3's little whatever that was.
The Street Fighter cosplay thingy.
Yeah, I didn't care about that, but I thought it was awesome that I'd never heard of this before, and then second, it's out now.
Yeah, it's out now. Go fight giant zombie and bison if you want.
Love stuff like this.
Yeah.
And so Hardline did it with their beta, and then, of course, Destiny did it with theirs.
It was actually... Really, they were just inviting people into the alpha that's been going for weeks now.
Yeah,
the friends and family. It isn't a new phase of anything. It's that same slice that they've been demoing poorly for weeks.
For public
and weeks
reveals,
now.
yeah.
For publicly, right.
Yeah.
And that little bit of leak that barfed out a couple of days before E3, that guy who was just like showing all of his share and everything, this is exactly what he was playing. Trying to encapsulate what this is in terms of its release status or its design status has kind of stymied me a little bit. Anybody who's paid any attention to this show knows that I've been incredibly critical of this game so far. Mostly critical of Bungie for how they've handled the discussion of it, right?
Yeah, particularly the fact that they kind of overhyped it.
They hyped it absolutely to the moon, and they talked a huge game, and we know that they're capable of building big ideas, and then within those big ideas maybe falling a little bit short on the execution. Not in terms of polish and style, but just in terms of scope and size and all these things. And that's, not everyone agrees with that, but it is an opinion that I hold. And I don't know, man. I've been super critical, and everybody is either automatically on some hate train for it, or at least in the circles that I frequent, most people were just having a love-in over
That's why I was very interested in what you
I'm
thought.
just like,
'cause I was
God, man, like, stop loving it. You don't know anything yet. You don't. I know that you don't, because those of you in the alpha
can't talk about
can't
it.
talk about it at all. You're not even really allowed to say that you're in it. Because as soon as they talked about it on the show floor, they dropped the NDA. And then all of a sudden, you go on Gaff or on Reddit, and people are like, okay, yeah, I've been doing this for like 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
At which point, I do care what you have to say. And I do really want to talk to you about it and like compare notes and stuff like that. I got in a little bit earlier than everybody else, thanks to friend codes coming down out of Bungie Friendland. And that's good. It gave me a little bit more time in it. Put very, very shortly, there really is no zealot like a convert. I think
Everybody in the chat room was talking about Grumpy James. I hope they're listening now.
I wasn't wrong in any of my critiques, because my critiques weren't necessarily about the game. It was about how every time they started to talk about the game, they weren't showing anything. How it can be so difficult to talk about a game like this is beyond me. I am not impressed. They have not come up with anything new here, all right? For anyone who has played MMOs, particularly on the PC for a really long time, for anyone who has played PC games for an especially long time, and for anybody who's just been around in gaming for a long enough time, most of the ideas here aren't going to be anything new. Strangely, there's an enormous number of people who weren't prepared for what this game is trying to offer and have never really seen a game put together in this combination.
What was the game that you related it to that I am completely unfamiliar with? Something
PSO, Phantasy Star Online.
Yeah.
It is small group based, mission sortie based, and you've got small little areas where people can get together and do matchmaking and then go out and do their own thing. It's a little bit of that. There's Halo all over it, you know, and that's fine. It's kind of, you can see the resemblance, you know.
Now, I think they somewhat copied and pasted the shotgun.
It really, yeah,
shotgun
it
is
really.
exactly
Yeah, I remember when
like
I was,
Halo.
when I was
Yeah.
over there watching you do that. I was like, "Yeah, that's a Halo shotgun."
It is, and I have no problems with that. There's some issues with run and gun versus aiming down sights, you know, iron sights and red dot sights and stuff like that. But the ability to kind of phase and smoothly instance in and out between public areas and private areas is totally seamless. But again, I've seen this happen a very, very long time ago. When World of Warcraft started doing it, and then when other games started doing it. The public events and stuff like that have been very popular in MMOs now for years and years.
I didn't get a chance to mess around. Are you able to take off the red dots or no? I didn't look to see.
There are different options for scopes and sights,
But you can't take, like, if
You
you pick
can't
up a
just
gun and it has
take
a red
them
dot, you
off,
can't take
no.
it off. Okay, I didn't
No.
know if you could.
but you can change it to another type.
Okay.
Weapons of superior quality, like things that aren't just
Yeah.
normal, they actually have their own leveling tree.
Yeah.
And the
well, I had
sights are
upgraded a
associated
couple of
with
my
that.
guns, and I didn't know if you could mess
No,
with
you
those
can't
or
just take them off as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
But again, we're really, really limited.
Yeah,
They start you at level
exactly.
3. They don't give you any of the story introduction. They don't give you any of the context. Thank you for not ruining that.
Yeah.
Start you at level 3, throw you into a mission. It caps at level 8. But I feel like they carved out a perfect slice of the game to give you an idea of everything the game is going to be about. They let you play around in the social hub. They let you upgrade some of your gear. They let you get up to level 8. They let you do a single strike mission, which, by the way, is the strike mission we saw, but it's like 5 times longer than what we were shown.
Interesting.
Which again just comes back to their ability to describe their own game to us and their timidity, you know, I guess, their carefulness. I don't know, but
They're extreme. Yeah. You know how they
they're
are with their lore
they're
and
too
stuff.
precious
They're
with their
very-
information
yeah.
is really the problem. But this what they have here, whether you like the content or not, and I just so happen to really like the content. I like the fact that the open exploration mode has little throwaway quests that respawn infinitely, and all you got to do is go kill some guys, pick up some triangles off the ground when they drop them, press square when you walk over to this thing and scan it. I don't care. I know what those are for. That's just filler stuff to give me something to do while I'm in exploration mode. Looking for fights, looking for loot, trying to initiate and participate in a public event. The world building is incredibly detailed, really, really dense.
Yeah, a public event. Something maybe that's supposed to happen, but something happened right before you joined my game yesterday. I could have sworn the over voice or something said blah 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 incoming,
Right.
and I didn't know what I was doing at the time. So, and because I had just jumped in, I was like, I'll worry about that later. I don't know if that was are public events going on in the beta. Like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
Okay.
I had
Yeah.
one yesterday where I was on level 6, and all of a sudden it was like, you know, you guys need to kill these level 9 guys, and like they were just one-shotting me, so I had left, but no, it was pretty
Right.
cool.
No, I like it. And most importantly, whether you really appreciate the design elements of the game or not, or the way that things are put together in terms of their structure, it's everything is bolted to the part next to it perfectly well. They've got this thing nailed down. This is not an alpha. This thing is beyond feature complete. It is really, really tightly made. It is stable. It is clean. Load times are long. I don't particularly care for that.
They were, weren't they?
Yeah.
I will say, you know, it is easy to perfect an area of basically a demo and let it be clean, because, you know, Battlefield does that a ton. Their demos will run flawlessly, and then the game comes
Right.
out and it's tons of
Well,
bugs. So
more
I
to
mean,
the
you know,
more to the point, if you've ever played any MMO demos
Yeah,
before,
exactly.
you really, really see them nail down the level 1 to level 25 experience. It's super rich. It's absolutely just oozing content. The first 2 dungeons and the first battleground or whatever that they
Yeah.
actually let you participate in are magnificent, and then the content really falls off and drifts away at higher levels. The game only has a level cap of 20, I think. But I think what they tried to do here is just give you a nice little slice of everything that's going to be available. Here, they didn't show a raid, obviously. They only have 1 mode and 2 maps from the PvP. But the people who like that sort of stuff seem to like it a lot. The people who don't, and I'm one of the ones who don't. That's like I'll do it a little bit, but I won't be excited about it.
Yeah.
I just thought that I thought they really have delivered on a very, very solid game that is going to sell an awful lot of people in the concept. And it's running really, really, really well. It's running incredibly well. Load times aren't that good, right? That's perfectly fine because of all the things that you could argue we're still in an alpha state. Network connectivity, the net code, all of the servers on the back end handling the different player connections. I'll give them that. But the game itself, the actual content in there is put together really, really well.
Real quick, how long did it take you to do the first boss in the tank? The devil tank, whatever.
Like 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The group I was with, no joke, it took us 45 minutes. The dudes
to do the tank?
They could not. I don't know what they were doing. Like they were just doing.
Did they not know how to do it?
They were just doing no damage. Like I've literally soloed it pretty much. Like they were killing the little dudes, but I don't know what they were doing.
You shoot the legs, he falls down, his head comes open.
That's what I thought.
You shoot the stuff inside of his head, then he stands back. It's not.
But like I was having to like fight off everything, and it was.
I guess this kind of goes back to your point that there's a lot of people who are.
I really think there's a whole lot of people who don't understand how games like this work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There are an awful lot of people who can't find their way around. There seems to be a minimum of hand holding. I really hope that moves forward, like as a part of the design, not just that it's incomplete at this point. They intentionally have no map in their overworld exploration mode. They kind of want you to.
Yeah, there's so many people complaining. There's no map, and I kind of like. I didn't really mind it. I mean,
I didn't either. I have done.
Okay.
I have done everything you can do in the alpha. I did the strike. I've played all 3 classes, 2 of them to max level. I've done the PvP, and I have been over what I'm pretty sure is every square inch of the map that I can get to. There are some places that I can't get past because the enemies are far, far, far too high level, and they just kill you automatically. There are a couple places that are artificially blocked off right now so that we can't access those regions.
Yeah.
But
did you find the little things all hidden all over the map?
the little ghosts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You found them all?
I think I found them all.
Well,
I'm not sure. I haven't looked up well, I don't know. I probably haven't.
Okay.
What was
I would have to
interesting
look
is
that
that
up.
we did find yesterday. We found part of the map where the very first gameplay demo we ever saw of the game last year at E3.
Right, and it
took
was totally
place.
unpopulated.
Yeah.
Everything, it's all, you can see the constraints of older hardware. You can see where invisible loading is happening. There are fairly open areas, but each open area is connected by sequences of hallways and staircases and tunnels and things like that. You have to move through some small interior structure, and that's where you'll be cut off from other people through, like, I have, for example, run around the overworld with another group of 3 guys who are obviously in a fire team together on their way to do a mission.
Mm-hmm.
And we were moving through the public areas together, and the 3 of them together, and then me, on my own. Clear out an area, we all shoot some guys, we get some loot, we get some XP, we play around, we have fun. Move through, go into the interior zones, walk through some shipping containers, go past some blast doors. Then you're inside, and they turn a corner, and they just sort of wink out of existence. They're just not there. They're off together in their own version of that space.
Yeah.
And I in mine. So, but I think it stands.
You winked out of existence a few times when we were together.
Usually because one of us crosses a threshold.
Right,
before the
you
other one.
crossed the. I saw you. It was interesting because I was distinctly thinking he just stepped into the void because it's the way it looks.
Yeah.
And then I come in there with you, and then boom, there you're back. So yeah, I noticed that as well.
It's like I said. I think it's going to be really unfamiliar technology and really unfamiliar design to a lot of people who've never played this kind of thing. There's a lot of people here who are just coming from Halo, and while Halo does several things very differently and arguably better, it's a pretty straightforward game. Here is your single-player campaign that works just like a single-player shooter campaign, and then way over here is your multiplayer, and they go like this. This guy's on this side of the room. That guy's on that side of the room, and that's the way they live. This game doesn't do that. It's
Right.
all up in the same. It's all like one big stew. of activities. Your
See, the
progress
closest
with
way
your-
the closest way that you could describe it was Fantasy Star on, or no, what was it? Something PSO?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Fantasy Star Online.
Yeah, okay. And the best way that I understood it was Defiance. As the closest
Defiance
thing.
is a good example.
So if
Not
anybody,
that anybody has played that.
right, I understand
Unfortunately,
that. Yeah.
it was a lot of. Well, you can now. It's free to play.
It's free to play.
And I recommend it. It's a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of fun stuff. This you'll be able to see the similarities. People are not wrong when they say that there is a touch of Borderlands here. It's just sort of mad to pretend there isn't some weird resemblance for people who have played Borderlands, but it's not the same game at all. There is a feeling of a little bit of Halo here. There's some Phantasy Star Online. There's some Defiance. There's some bigger MMO titles. There's a lot of things at work here. What I find strange is that they actually managed to put it all together and make it feel pretty decent. I have no problems with it. I had a lot... No, that's not true. I do have some problems with it.
Yeah, but the point being is that way before you got to play this thing, you were not sold on that game.
I was not sold on
Yeah.
the game. I didn't feel like they believed in it enough. And I know that's probably not... There's no reason to have thought that. It is Bungie, and lots of people have told me that. But I don't care. I don't have faith in developers. I don't believe in that. You're doing whatever you're doing now, and the circumstances of this game are not the circumstances of Halo or Halo 2. They're just not. So I'm never going to confer on you the love I had of a previous game.
Right.
I'm not being cruel. I'm just being real. I know that this is not then. This is now, and this is these circumstances. And you were under an awful lot of pressure here. So I was very, very skeptical, but I'm not saying it's the greatest game ever made. For some people, I think it might be. What I am saying is that I was very nearly shocked at how well it was put together for something that's supposedly alpha. Tells me that with any luck, it'll have a rock-solid launch. This is not an alpha. This is barely even a beta. It worked wonderfully. It does work wonderfully. If you have the means at all, I suggest giving it a shot. It's really very fun and doesn't seem like the kind of mess that games usually are when they try to be something to everyone. You know, when they try to satisfy every taste. Yeah. But I like it. I really like the interface. Lots of people had problems with that, but I think it works pretty well. It's a cursor-based, quasi-mouse-like interface that I think works really, really well with the controller. I like their inventory screens. I like their gear management stuff. It's all pretty straightforward. It could be a grander, a bigger game, I think. I sort of hate the fact that, like a lot of games, I'm in what appears to be a beautiful world, and 90% of that beauty is happening on the other side of an invisible wall.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that, but it's okay. Like, I'm not going to get angry at Bungie now.
Yeah, it's like when
that.
we walked up to the edge of that cliff, and I was like, "Hey, come look at this." And It was really great, but it was like, "Do you think you can get out there?" No.
Well, that's not new. I felt that way in the first Halo.
Yeah.
I want to drive all the way around this thing. I want to go all the way around. I want to drive up that thing. Can we go? No. You can go like 20 feet that way. This is part of what it means to just let yourself be absorbed into the illusion. You got to get over it.
That's what I definitely thought of the Batman trailer when they showed like the city beyond the horizon, and I was like,
Yeah.
"It's not really all."
No. You know it isn't. You know it isn't because you're a grown up, or you should know. But that's okay. It's at this point. These are the things that it's okay for you to do as the player. This is part of the work that is required of you as the audience. You have to be willing to let them trick you. They're inviting you into the illusion. You have to be willing to accept the illusion. It's a communicator and target kind of thing. It's a delicate balance, and it's whatever. I just find myself being very, very fond of it, and I did not expect to be.
And this is another cross-gen.
Yeah,
release,
I wish
isn't
it
it?
wasn't. I got to tell you, I wish it wasn't. I think that from the outset, they probably could have done things a little more interesting if it wasn't
I believe,
accommodating those old systems.
I believe in that list of how they're releasing it. I believe the next one's supposed to be.
Well, I mean,
the first one was.
being that it's a 10-year project, eventually, I'm sure they're going to stop the production on the on the cross-gen type situation, just be current gen only. Although what the cross-gen does, it hooks people in so that when the
Exactly.
sequel releases, they're like, well, I do have to pick up a console at this point, if that's the case. Or by then, they've leveled up their... For people who just can't get into the current gen right now, they can still play this game and hopefully have their character carry over into the next game or have some substance of the game carry over when they purchase their next-gen consoles.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's understandable because, between Xbox and PlayStation, that's 150 million consoles. You know, that's a lot of people.
I know. It's Activision hedging their bets.
Yeah,
It's,
and money-wise, it's understandable.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
I don't even care. It just would have been nice at this point to see us completely step into this generation. So then we would have a better concept about, like, I want to start viewing the game. I really want to have an opportunity to look more at the relationship between the PC, the PS4, and the Xbox One, rather than the PC, the PS4, the Xbox One, the PS3, and the Xbox 360. I want to tighten that circle up a little bit more so that that comparison becomes more important, if that makes any sense, rather than just it's a bit wide of a thing right now. We were really excited a year ago to learn that these consoles had better, they had stronger innards than the previous consoles. They were a little more in line with the current PC. They were x86 architecture. They were really pushing PC clients towards using 64-bit executables that were fully aware of all of the RAM in my system. All of these different things, and it's still just we're still not really having that conversation. So, but regardless, it doesn't really matter. I don't even find myself in the same camp of really wanting Destiny on the PC. I don't know. Something about it feels like it absolutely wants to be on the console. But I don't know where they are with that. I don't know exactly.
Which is strange. The cursor that they give you in game seems awfully
but it's also
mouse-like.
it does seem awfully mouse-like, but it's also a really good solution for what they're trying to do in game. Mm-hmm. It's rather than just being mouse-like, it is also effective. And when you're dealing with as much menu activity, it's a valid option rather than just d-padding around the screen. Yeah. It does have a lot of things about it that I don't give the field of view is terrible. Mm-hmm. It is not. It really isn't good. It makes any close quarters combat was really difficult for me. I didn't like it at all. Anytime something would dart out of my view, really, really bothered. I don't like it. It is one of my least favorite things about consoles, and it makes PC games with no option to unlock the FOV unplayable for me.
Yeah.
So that was really problematic. It's trying to accommodate the 16 buttons that you have on a controller by doubling up functions on a lot of the buttons uselessly. Meanwhile, the D-pad has emotes on it, hard locked to having emotes.
That's right.
Point, wave, sit, dance. Like, man, that's all right. Like, that's cute for 5 minutes, but could maybe please could I bind one of those things to just be launch my little hover bike instead of having to
hit the
whip out my dinklage and then hold square? Like, everything, basic functions are so context sensitive, all to accommodate some crap. Not all to accommodate, but to accommodate some crap that doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And that stuff gets its own buttons?
Yeah.
I've got 4 incredibly useful buttons right over here. I don't need to wave that bad. That's irritating. That's really, really irritating. The frame rate's not great. It didn't dive too far below 30 as far as I could tell. But, what's it going to mean when I actually get into one of their raids, which is going to have, 6 people in it? Fire teams can only accommodate 3, which is sort of miserable. The public areas, for what they're worth, can only accommodate 6 people at once, which means you're never really seeing enough people, which means I feel like I never quite had enough people for the big public events. Things like that I don't like. And on the PC, that would work better. On the PC, it would work more like Defiance, and it would feel a little bit more like the lively, interactive kind of thing. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, for right now. But those are some of the things that worry me about the game for later. Mm-hmm. All told, though, for someone that really didn't like what he was seeing, I actually found it really enjoyable. Not extraordinary. It didn't wow me in any of its ability to do new things. It simply wowed me in its ability to do something apparently very well. They're gonna. I think they're gonna make a lot of money with this game. So,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I imagine I'll get it. It's one of the only things happening between now and the end of the year. So.
Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat room. In fact, I'll give you a rundown of everybody who was in the chat room with us. Cavalier UK, Lavos, Scallysynth, Medusa's Mirror, Mocat360, Nabokov fan, of course. Nice meeting you in LA, by the way, Nabokov fan. Nathan92, Omega Men, also the Gamer Me, Track Zero. Drew is in the chat room, and then Matthew as well. I want to thank everybody there. Also, everybody who is listening to us on the radio or the stream, ever how you're getting us, everybody who grabs us from iTunes or however you get our show for later use, we really, really appreciate it. Cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. Go to ingamechat.net. You can join us on Twitter, Facebook, our forums at colonyofgamers.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you're on Steam, we've got a Steam group you can join up with over there and play games with us and other listeners. Have a great week, folks. Here's music from Advent Rising. We will see you next Saturday night.